And we're rolling. Hello. Today is, what is today? Let me look. It is August 22nd, 2018. And here is your reading. Let me review your question. So you are going through a separation, divorce that you never wanted because you found out your husband had taken someone out behind your back. So you threw him out. He ran straight to her. We have 2 children who he's barely seen since. This was near on 5 months ago. He has gotten nasty and vindictive. You ask, does he feel any remorse or guilt? Will we ever be able to get on for our children's sake? I thought he was my soulmate, so I'm finding this so tough. And then I asked for any other points, and you'd said, will he be a better father to our children than he has been? You feel like he's blaming you for how things are, yet he's messed up, not me. Any advice the cards give, I would appreciate. So, I think I'm just going to do this as a standard relationship reading to figure out what the relationship between you and your husband are, and then we'll look at the relationship between your husband and your children. So, yeah, let's get started. So the deck that you chose in the blue bag, this is the Universal Weight Tarot. I've already shuffled off camera since that's kind of boring. And you also chose Earth. So the Oracle deck we're going to use is called the Earth Power Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. This is my favorite Oracle card artist, Jimmy Manton from Australia. And I used that 9-digit number that you gave me to draw 2 cards for you. I drew a tarot card, which I like to save to the end to kind of sum up the reading. So this is the card that you chose, and we're going to put that aside for now. And then I like to start off with an oracle card just to set the tone for the reading, and sometimes it ties in thematically with what cards we see. So let's see what we've got here. So you've got the Statue of Liberty. I am free to be who I really am. I have a right to my own happiness and sanctuary. I am free to be authentic. So this is a very interesting card to draw for this type of reading, given what you've just written to me. So I'm trying not to say a cliche, like turn this frown upside down is what kind of popped into my head. But I feel like the advice of this card for you, which is one of the ones that you chose with that number, you're focusing on your children, which how can you not, right? You have to protect your children. That's like, one of the, like, it's like the, what's the word for it? Like, the primary purpose of a mother, right, is to protect one's children. And, but you didn't say, I guess this is kind of, what this is making me feel like is there's things that you didn't say in your question to me. So this is like what, when Oprah says, that another cliche is like when you are on an airplane and you're sitting next to your children and something happens and the oxygen masks drop, you must put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because if you pass out, there will be no one to put the oxygen mask on your children. So I think, a Statue of Liberty, I think in a way, your husband got off scot-free, like is the tone of the what you wrote to me, like, he just took off and whatever. But I think what this card is reminding you is that now you have some liberty too. So I think this might be hard, although it has been, I think you said it's been 5 months. So, but I think maybe a journal prompt for after we look and see what happens in this reading would be that, how are you now free? What are you free from? What are the things you can be grateful for being able to be out of this relationship now? It's sometimes hard to look at the bright side, but I feel like, I am free to be authentic. I have a right to my own happiness and sanctuary. So I know you're very concerned about your kids. We're going to look at that, but I think what was not said, I think another thing that has to happen after this reading is where do we focus on you? Where do you focus on you? So let's put that aside for now. Let's get started with the tarot. I'm going to draw 3 for you for a foundation. Let's see, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so let's just take a look at where you are right now. Well, okay. And okay, so you're in a, these are all reversed, they're upside down, and the way I reread reversals are difficulties and delay. So, but the kind of the fundamental thing is blocked energy that's blocked. So the way I read the blocked energy usually as a default would be something that's going to be very hard, or something that's delayed or taking a long time. Things that are hard tend to take a long time anyway, so it's kind of 2 sides of the same coin. So if we look at death, I mean, this is what has just happened, right? The death of the relationship. The bright side of the death card, however, is that, you know, this is death in terms of, think of like the butterfly, like the caterpillar like has to cocoon themselves to be reborn the butterfly. Tarot, most of the sequences in tarot are about a journey. And so this is a major arcana card. So this is like a milestone in your life. How can a divorce not be? So I'm not saying anything strange there. But in terms of the sequence, this is right in the middle of the sequence. The sequence is from 0 to 21 of the major arcana. So when this is death, this is not like everything is over. This is the opportunity where, you know, you have to die to be reborn. So that's what this is right now. So you'll notice that, like, although there's in the foreground of the image, the figure of death who's come, there's like a dead king who's lost his crown. There's like, you know, a sort of a younger figure here that looks like they're kind of fainting or passing out. There's like a bishop sort of figure kind of imploring, you know, death to like spare him or whatever it might be. But the flip side of this card is in the background, which might not be visible on camera. There's a tiny boat on a river. So there's this huge dramatic scene playing out in the foreground, but life is going on in the background, right? Because of this ship. Like, the people on this ship probably can't even see what's going on in this scene. Also in the background here, there's a sun rising on the horizon between 2 towers. So like off in the distance, you know, there's a new day is being born. So there's a bright side and a dark side to every card. So you've just been through a divorce. I don't need to say much more about that, and it has been difficult. That's the reversed energy here. But now, this is the 9 of Wands, and the 9 of Wands is all about, I have 2 ways of expressing the 9 of Wands. Sometimes I feel like the 9 of Wands is sort of a stagnancy in terms of like, how do I express this in terms of your question? Well, let me describe the card a little bit more first. So the 9 of Wands, so the 9 of Wands is, Wands are about your will, your passion, your desires. You sound very passionate about your children, for instance. It's like the Wands represent the element of fire, like the fire inside you, like what drives you. And given that this is about what drives you, this image is sort of, it's kind of, it doesn't show a lot of drive, if you'll notice. So there's a person standing holding a wand in a very defensive position, and their head is wounded. So the images of the wands before the 9 have a lot of conflict to them. In fact, the one immediately before the 8, it looks like kind of like 8 missiles are coming, and the 8 missiles look like they've landed right here. So there's been a battle, right? A battle of wills. But now you have a person who's defending their position, and one of the things I always think about this card is that, you know, it's like the person who has been defending the status quo for so long, or defending them, basically been in a position of wills, like in a battle of will for so long, that they don't remember even why they're doing it. Like, they don't even remember why. Like, why am I fighting for this? Like, why am I've been doing it for so long, I'm just kind of on autopilot. Like, so why am I even doing this anymore? That's kind of the card that's one of the basic definitions of the card for me. But also someone who's been wounded in battle, someone who's sticking to their guns. But I would say that it's sticking to your guns in a way that might not be so productive anymore. So another way I look at this card is if you notice the arrangements of the wands, like there's kind of a space where the figure is. And so to me, the figure, and if you notice the tunic of the figure too, the tunic of the figure is basically the same shade as the color of the wood of the wands, the wands themselves. So to me too, this is kind of like where the figure, you're becoming your own blockade, your own, like you're becoming part of the wall here. So walls can be defensive, but they can also contain you and kind of imprison you. So I think here is where might you be imprisoning yourself and making yourself stuck right now? Where might you be kind of just going through the motions rather than actually accessing your will to figure out what you want to do? And again, this is like, you've been given some freedom now, but you probably have been focusing only on your children, and maybe now's the time to get out of the autopilot mode with your will and your passion and your desires and kind of figure out, well, what do you want to create? Fire is actually, another quality of fire is about creation. So one of the messages here is about how can you create what you want? And it's, as the card was reversed, it's going to be very difficult. You know, there's no way around this being difficult and taking a long time, but that's kind of the present moment. And where you're headed is, this is the Six of Pentacles. So like one of the basic definitions of this card is generosity. You can see a person here who's meting out coins. And I say meeting like M-E-T-E meeting, so like measuring out, because he's got a scale in his hand, right? So he's basically distributing wealth, but in a very deliberate way. So coins, one of the basic definition of the coin suits is wealth because they look like coins. But really, this being the suit of earth energy, this is a lot more than just money. So this would be basically things like livelihood, the roof over your head, being grounded, having shelter. So where you're headed, like if we look at this as sort of a sentence, the divorce has just happened, you're in a place where everything I just described about the will now, and like the immediate future looks like, well, it's a place where you need to come to basically give a little bit more of on a material, not a material, do I want to say material plane? Yeah, well, on a material plane, like you're going to come to a place where you're going to be able to give again. And this could indicate that maybe you've been in lockdown mode because like you're just protecting yourself right now because you've suffered such a shock. But what this is saying is that there is opportunity now to be generous again, to be giving again. So, you know, one of the differences between, I was reading an article, and one of the differences between America and our counterparts in Western Europe is that in America, there's like, right now, everybody is always focused on self-care when they're depressed or when they're having problems in life. But in Europe, there are cultures that have a tradition of when you're circling the wagons, when you're feeling like you need self-care, that's when you actually start, you find someone to do something for. You do something for someone else, and that's what really makes you feel good. So I think when you can, and it's going to be tough for you, right, because it was a reversed card, but I think the lesson of this card would be, like, you're going to be presented with an opportunity where you can do something for someone else. You're going to do it in a measured way. You're not going to give of yourself to the point where you exhaust your resources, material, or even your spiritual resources, right? So you're going to do it in a shrewd and metered way. But I think you will do this, and usually that will be accompanied by, like, you know, it'll bolster your self-esteem. It will make you feel good. I think it probably will help you heal, since that's what since this reading is about the end of a relationship. Now, let's look at the interpersonal aspects of the relationship. You had mentioned basically how are you two going to get on for the sake of the kids, and then how is he going to be in relationship to the children. So let me think. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 5 cards right now. I usually don't do this all at once, but I think for this I will. So I'm going to draw a card for you, a card for the either ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband, and then a card for the children, to read the energy of the 3 parties. And then I'm going to draw cards between them to look at the energy between the parties. So between children and father, and then between you and the father, since this is a you-focused reading. So let me pull those 5 right now and build this up. Okay, so we're going to pull one for you, one for the children. We're going to pull, actually the children I'm going to put over here, and then I'm going to draw one for him. And then now let's look for the energy between you and him. And then let's look at the energy between him and the children. Okay, there we go. Lots of cards. Okay, interesting. Okay, so there's so much fire here. I'm just kind of taken aback that all 3 of the individual parties' energies are all fire related here. So they're about will and passion. So, I mean, I wonder if you're the kind of family that like enjoys arguing, and not necessarily arguing in a detrimental way, but you know, like this could be arguing even like maybe your default way of communicating is like, okay, 2 parties come together at the dinner table and like it's like, no, I think like, I don't know, like I think the best thing to eat for breakfast is this, and I think the best thing to eat for breakfast is that, and then you know, blah 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 for 10 minutes, and that's like how you guys entertain yourselves. I don't know, that's kind of what's coming to me. But for you, I think I just want to iterate your energy right now. What we were talking about here with the stagnancy, I think you're about to enter a phase where you're coming out of this stagnancy, right? Because you've got the Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands is about will, your passion, the fire inside you, creativity, stuff like that. And right now, this is an opportunity for you. And I mean, if you just look at the image compared to the Oracle, is this on, I wonder if that's, I think this is in frame for the camera. So you've got the Statue of Liberty holding a torch, and now you've got the Ace of Wands, like boom, which is representing fire. So there's like a huge echo here for you. So I think one of the things this card is trying to do is trying to iterate what we got here in the Statue of Liberty. I'm going to say it one more time. I am free to be who I really am. I have a right to my own happiness and sanctuary. I am free to be authentic. You're free to be your authentic self. So I think huge message here, resonating. Just like if you look at the cards, the similarity between the cards, it's very striking. That's why I love doing this. But to get to the basic meaning of this card, the Aces of Wands, all the aces, in fact, have these hands coming out of clouds like this. So it's a divine offering. Some people think that these offerings are sort of short-lived. An offering in the sense of an opportunity. You have an opportunity right now. You should grab it. If you fail to grab it, there will be another opportunity, but you might have to wait a little bit for it to come along again. So, you know, because you have free will, you can do whatever the hell you want. But now I think this is basically the opportunity for you to examine your will and your desires and what feeds the fire inside of you, and to do it. So this is your energy right now. So and you know what, this could be even part of this energy of like trying to take the reins. This could be like, how do I say this? Riding the wave of what's about to happen right now with your energy. This could even explain why you chose today to reach out for a tarot reading. right? This could be a part of this, what you're grasping, seizing right now. So if we look at his energy, he's got the very next card in the sequence. He's got the Two of Wands. However, his is reversed, so he's got some blocked energy right now. So he's kind of stuck in some way. Now, this is one of the definitions of this card. It could be like the analysis paralysis card. So you've got a guy. He's planning. He's holding a globe. So he's some sort of traveler, or he arranges voyages for others, or something, or maybe he engages in trade. And it has to do with going voyages to out at sea. So, but he's not quite ready to make a decision yet. So for some reason, analysis paralysis, like the husband or ex-husband, he's kind of stuck right now in terms of his will. There's something that he isn't sure of right now. Like, what does he want? And I don't know if that could be like, you know, if he doesn't want, like, does he want the contact with the children? Does he really want this other person that he left you for? Or what's going on? Or he's stuck in some way in terms of his desire, his will, and his creativity. And it looks like it's a rough time for him as well. So so I don't think he's super happy. There's some sort of rough. There's a rough time. He's going through a rough time. He's unable to make up his mind, or he's unable to take a next step in some area of his life. Something to do with his will, his passion, his drive, his desire, his creativity, stuff on that sort of wavelength. Now, the strange thing is, let me look at the energy of the kids now. So when I draw this card has a special meaning for me. And let me grab the other deck. I have another deck here. With all the cards in sequence, because I want to show you the one I always compare this card to. So the Seven of Wands, I always like to compare to the Five of Wands. So let me just grab a Five of Wands really quick. Here we go. So again, will, desire, a battle of wills and whatnot. And tarot's a journey. So like the 5 is less advanced than the 7. So where we're coming from in the wands is that, you know, in this card, the 5 of Wands, everybody's standing on even ground. Everyone's kind of wearing the same outfit. So to me, they're all of the same class, the same ilk. And there's no clear winner here, right? They're all just kind of battling. It's a battle of wills. It isn't being particularly fruitful. It's a whole bunch of people like either bickering or just a battle of wills, right? Simply. But if we look at the 7, now, there's still a battle of wills, but you've got a guy who's on the high ground, right? And there's all these wands coming up from below, and he's like in the power position. He is, he has the advantage this time. And I say this time because to me, like what the message of this card is like, okay, so there's a battle of wills, there's a battle of passions, we want what we want and all this stuff, but this time you've been through it before, and this time you are more likely to come out on top. You know how to fight this fight, I guess is part of the lesson of this card, in terms of getting the will that you desire. Not knowing anything about you though, like this is kind of weird when we talk about this relationship. So I wonder if you guys have ever separated in the past, or if there has been some sort of trauma in the past, so that the kids are somehow well equipped to deal with this in terms of their will and understanding how to navigate this. So to me, what this card is saying is the kids are actually going to be robust. They're going to be able to bounce back from this, and they're going to be okay. So I don't know if the repetitive aspect is necessarily on the money. So you tell me, because you know I don't know anything about you. But to me, I would say that something has happened in the past so that they are well equipped to deal with this. So if that has been a prior separation and a reconciliation, or maybe they have been gone through some sort of other struggle in their lives, or you as a family have gone through another struggle that has prepared them for this moment, so that now it's like, okay, well, this sucks, but we can get through it, and we can get through it better than the next family. Something like that. Now, it was reversed, so it's not like it's going to be easy. It's going to take a while, but they seem to be well equipped. So now, the relationship between the kids and the father, however, I know he hasn't been around, but the prospects look very good. So this is the Two of Cups. So the cups, this is the first cup that we've drawn. The cups are about emotions, and the two is all about balance. So balance of emotions on an emotional level. So like one of the basic definitions of this cup is it looks like people exchanging marriage vows to some degree. It's the coming together of two parties in union on an emotional level. So it seems like there's every potential that like the father and the children can have a really emotionally fulfilling relationship. Now, with all of this reversed energy and blocked energy right now, it looks like ain't gonna happen tomorrow, but the potential is there. So it looks like, it's all about figuring out what needs to happen to turn these cards around, to unblock this energy so that they bounce back. This guy, the husband, needs to figure out like how to like move forward because he's stuck and can't figure out where his will needs to take him. But yeah, so the relationship between father and kids looks like it can be really good as long as you figure out how to get out of the stagnation and make it happen. Like, so tarot doesn't predict the future, right? Because everybody has free will. Like if the kids decide like, we're not particularly interested in talking to him, then this whole emotional thing can't really happen. And likewise, if whatever decision he's stuck in, if it takes him away from the children, what can you do? They're not going to have a relationship. But it looks like if things turn around and they try, right, then it looks like things could be really good. They can have an emotionally fulfilling relationship. So anyway, that looks really, there's positive potential here. But it takes human beings to make that sort of thing happen. This is just reading the energy of the moment. Now, between the two of you, I think it actually looks really good as well. So I'm assuming that you're either going through a divorce or you're probably, or like a court case or something like that's coming up. But you're talking about, like, can you guys get along? Well, let me look at the computer screen again. It went to sleep. How did you phrase it? Will we be able to get on for our children's sake? Yeah, so how are you two going to be getting along? So we drew another pentacle here, one of the pentacle cards. So this is the Eight of Pentacles. And this is like the diligent work card. Again, so the pentacles, as we said before, are about groundedness, being grounded. They are about livelihood, about putting a roof over your head, Maslow's needs, so food, shelter, clothing, all of those sorts of things. But since we're talking about a relationship here, let's go with the groundedness and I wouldn't say the livelihood aspect so much as, since you have a family situation here, what am I trying to say? Stability on the material plane. Right, to me, this represents stability on the material plane, like the pentacles. And now you've got a person who's working diligently on his craft. He's separated himself from the city, and he's really just super focused on making all of these pentacles as good as he possibly can. He's just honing his craft. So I think, in terms of getting on for the sake of the kids, I think you are... it's going to be hard because it came up reversed, right? But I think there's no reason why when you work at this, you can't do that. Like, we have a card who's indicating that, you will be able to meet the material and material needs of the kids. We have the fact that you can create some stability and groundedness for them between the two of you. Between the two of you, meaning like the two of you can make this happen. You can get on and you can do what you need to do in terms of like whoever is paying who child support, whoever is figuring out the schedule of visitation and all of those things. So yeah, it looks like you can make it happen. So I think last time I did a divorce reading, the cards were not this positive. So like, I think things like are actually... I think you're at a really good turning point. Like, it's horrible to live through, but I think this is like okay, you're in the cocoon, because the stagnation here, it's like death. You're in the cocoon, and then you're going to have some spiritual healing by figuring out how to give to others, and then you're going to be reborn this butterfly, right, so that you can be your authentic self. Um, this is going to be one of those milestones that I think, it's like you're going to grow wings and fly, right, afterwards. But you're still in the thick of it now, and it's going to suck. But let's take a look at the card that you drew. Okay, I love this card. So this is the Nine of Swords. So this is the first sword that we've drawn. And to me, this again ties in with the Statue of Liberty over here. So the Nine of Swords is, swords are about the mind. The element is air, and they're about mind in terms of like using reason, using logic, using mental acuity, ideas, things like that. But the problem with swords is that when you have an excess of mental energy, like, if your thoughts just are rolling around and around and around in your head, to me, an excess of mental energy is what can breed anxiety, is what can breed depression, depending on, maybe your base personality type, or maybe your biochemical makeup, or whatever that is. So if we look at the image of the card, there's on the side of the bed here, there's two people fencing. So they're using swords for conflict. So to me, that's kind of representing the whole, like, thoughts rolling around in your head, like, what do I do? What's going on? And the person's, sitting up in bed with their face in their hands. And in this case, like, obviously this person, like, what this is trying to communicate is that this person has just woken up from a nightmare. So, but the reason why I really like this card is because, all tarot cards have a light side and a dark side. So the dark side is like, ugh, sucks. You're having a nightmare, right? The bright side, on the other hand, is that nightmares are not real. So your heart may be pounding, you may be sweating, things may be horrible, but when you've woken up from a nightmare, guess what that means? That means the nightmare is over. So the nightmare is over, but you're a little stagnant. But moving on, I think, again, I'm going to say it one more time. I am free to be who I really am. I have a right to my own happiness and sanctuary. I am free to be authentic. So I think what the lesson card, the one that you drew here, is that, okay, so you've gone through a nightmare. You're waking up from a nightmare. And now, where do you go from here, right? So it's all about like how you relate to it on a rational level, because you can transform the energy of all of this blockage on a rational level. You can use that energy to wake up from the nightmare, and you can start flipping these cards over and getting rid of all these blockages so that you can, really find your happiness here. So I think that's the advice. And one of the other things I see in this card is it's like, since the horizontal arrangement of the swords is often it reminds me of binder paper, like, just what we use in school to write our lessons on. So one of the nice things, I think I mentioned journaling at the beginning of the reading, but one of the things you can do is you could make a list. You can make a list of maybe the things that you need to let go of to move forward. You can make a list of the things that you need, or maybe that, that needs to happen here to make the relationship good. You can make lists of things here. It's like, what will you do to create the stability for the children? I think maybe some journaling is in order for this card, because, like, a lot of people that don't remember their dreams, they sit up in bed and they write things out in order to, like, so that the next day they don't forget what insights they maybe had in the middle of the night. So, I would say that, maybe to help yourself through the nightmare situation, do some journaling and make some lists about how to accomplish what you want to accomplish and the things that you asked about, so that you can then unblock a lot of this energy, since there's so many reversed cards down here on the mat. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I hope this was helpful to you, and I wish you all the best.